What's going on, everyone? Welcome to module number 6 in this day trading course. I will be covering stop loss placements, targets, taking partial targets, when to move your stop loss to break even. All of that stuff I'll be covering in this module. So before we head to the charts and show you actual examples, let me just cover key few points on the slides. So for the stop loss for ES futures, I usually keep my stop loss between 2 to 4 points. It mostly depends on the market conditions. I just have to look how tight these stop losses look. But generally speaking, for most of the time, between 2 to 4 point stop loss is what I use. Now, if the market has a lot of low volatility and is moving slow and very choppy and a lot of small candles, thin candles, and a lot of wicks, the trade can take a lot longer to go in your direction. So in these scenarios, I use a wider stop loss, such as 3 to 4 points. I generally never really used higher stop losses than this. So for me, this would be to the wider side, 3-4 points, because the reason for that is because price might hang out around your entry price a lot longer than usual before actually starting to move in your direction. Now, if the market has high volatility and the market is moving quick up and down, I would use more 2 to 3 points, depending also on the entry pattern and if I manage to get a good entry. It's always important to look at the market conditions. When you're about to enter a trade, look how tight or how big those 3 points are, 2 points are. You might have to adjust right before you want to enter a trade. Now, I usually like to give my stop loss a little bit more breathing room. So, by all means, do not be afraid to use a little bit wider stop loss, especially if you're starting out. Those super tight stop losses are very sexy and very cool, but you will get, stopped out more often, especially in the beginning if you don't get the timing right of your entry. Now, I'm moving stop losses to break even. Let's say your trade goes into your direction. Usually for ES, I move my stop loss to break even between 5 to 7 points. This is usually as well when I see a break of structure on the M1 time frame. So let's say you enter on the M5, you saw a double bottom, and you see price heading in your direction. You're 4, 5, 6 points in profit. If you will look at the M1, you will most likely see a break of structure. And as soon as you see a good break of structure within that 5 to 7 point range, you can move your stop loss to break even. Now remember, we are scalping, so we don't need to wait too long to move stop loss to break even. Now, if the market has lower volatility, this can sometimes take some time to move your stop loss to break even because it just might take longer for the market to go in your direction. So be patient. Don't try to move your stop loss to break even too quick if you're scared in a trade, right? Because you're scared of losing. This can happen a lot, and this happened to me obviously in the past, which doesn't happen anymore. But now I have quite strict rules for when to move my stop loss to break even. I just need to see a shift, a sort of a break of structure on the M1 where price is heading in my direction, and I need to see volatility kicking in, seeing the break of structure as well in the lower time frame. Now for taking partials and choosing targets. Now, I've had many times where price would move into my direction and my stop loss would be at break even, and then it would just return and take me out break even. So for that reason alone, I started taking partials along the way, where I would take usually half of my position off at certain price levels. So I would have my target at a certain area, and as soon as price is moving into my direction, my stop loss at break even, I would look for areas where I could take partials of the market, and this actually helped me become more profitable, have more gains, because before, like I said in the first point, I had it many times where I had break even trades, and now those potential break-even trades turn into small winners, right? So usually for targets, I look first at the market conditions. If the market is very balanced, ranging, and very choppy, we need to keep that in mind to take profits a bit earlier and not go for big targets. Now, with balanced market or ranging market, I mean generally over the past couple of days, has it been ranging? Is it stuck in a range? And also, how is the actual market as of right now? The market open, has it been very choppy, very slow? Don't go for crazy targets. Don't try to make every trade a home runner if the conditions are just not there. Also, an important thing is, are we moving with the overall direction or against it? If the overall direction of the market is very bullish, there's a higher chance that if you manage to find a sell opportunity, that those sell opportunities will be short-lived. So keep always the overall direction of the market in your mind so you can adjust your targets accordingly. Now, usually most of my targets for when I enter a trade are support and resistance levels, supply and demand levels, You can also use areas like yesterday's high, yesterday's low, the current electronic high of day or low of day. And I really like to use as well the M1 structure to find target levels. So M1 highs and lows, M1 support and resistance on the lower time frame. I really like to use those areas for targets. Now let's head to the charts and show you some examples. So here, for example, on this day, we had a demand right here. And as the market opened, it came into our zone and it created an M5 low with another M5 low here, which is sort of a double bottom or a higher low. So if you manage to find an entry somewhere here in this candle, if you enter on this closure or you enter somewhere here on the lower side, if you look where this wick is right here, you can look where it is, that will be 5.5 points. Now I wouldn't, since price is also a lot higher, it's not really making the second low over here. Me personally, I would use a 4-point stop. I would just give it a little bit of room below this wick, but I wouldn't try to go all the way over here. And then in terms of targets, we need to look to the M1 time frame and see what structure we have here. So in terms of targets, we can see we have this M1 support level over here, which could be a good area to take profits, which would be this one. This is not the greatest RR, but of course we have an entry a little bit to the higher side, and stop loss has to be 4 points, has to be a little bit of room. So that's why this RR is not the greatest. Obviously, you could target this level. You could obviously target all these highs here as well. As you can see, the resistance, which would be also a great target. That really depends on you. I'm just showing you what I would personally choose for targets. You have multiple areas. We have this M1 structure here. We have the M1 resistance over here. These are all good areas to look for targets. And obviously not always your targets will get hit. And then for that case, this is why I take partial. So as you can see, when we enter here, price is moving in our direction. Let's take a look from our entry, how far price has gone. So you can see that whole wick went pretty much just under 6 points. So your stop loss should definitely be at break even at this level when price goes up this way. Now let's say we target the lower target, the M1 support level, for a 2 to 6 risk to reward. So a good area to take partials basically would be already this high. Okay, you can see this high right here is more or less halfway as well of the full TP. So around this area, once price passes this, you could take half of your position off. And taking half of your position off in this case, in this trade, this particular trade, well, it would have been the best option because you would have made money and then you would have been taken out here at break even, right? Price was very choppy. So I didn't enter here exactly. I will show you my exact entry. So I entered a little bit later. I entered here in this area right here in this candle. This is where I entered, and my stop loss was 3 points. Okay, so let's go to the M1 time frame. So this is exactly where I entered. I gave my stop loss a little bit of room right below this wick, which is 3 points, and my target was these lows, right? This support level. This was my full target, aiming for 3.5 or 3.60. So price was moving in my direction already over here. And as you can see, this already was 4 points, a little bit over 4. And I didn't go break even yet because it wasn't still 5 to 7 points. There was no break of structure as well on the M1. So price retraces down, comes close to my entry level, and then makes a break of structure. As soon as a break of structure is made around between these two candles, this is when I move my stop loss to break even. And I took partials at this high right here. At this high right here, this is where I took partials. As soon as this candle went beyond it, this is when I took partials. It didn't hit my full TP, and then it came all the way back down and took me out for break even. Now, this rule again of moving my stop loss to break even, between 5 to 7 points, also waiting for a break of structure, has kept me out of a potential loss, because if I wouldn't have moved my stop loss to break even, it would have ended up in a loss. Okay. And also the rule of adding partials, well, in the end, I made money on this trade instead of having a zero money made on this trade. Okay, so this was the first example. Now let's look at the next example of a trade that I actually took today, where I was able to hit my full TP. So we had this market structure and demand over here on the H4, massive level. Price comes back into this demand, and I managed to find an entry in this candle right here. Yeah, managed to find an entry right here. My stop loss, I wanted to put it just below this low as we were actually close by it. I chose 4 points for this target. Now, my full target for this trade was this M1 support low. Okay, this was my full TP area. Now, as soon as the price made this break of structure, as you can see, it made this break of structure breaking this high. I moved my stop loss to break even. That was already 10 points, but keep in mind today the conditions were a bit different. Everything was bigger. The stop losses were bigger. This is why I had 4 points. Usually a little area like this wouldn't be 4 points. It would be 2, maybe 3 points. But today the stop losses were bigger. Market was very volatile. So this is why I had 4 points. And also after this break of structure, it was around, I didn't move my stop loss to break even when the candle closed, but as soon as I saw the break of structure, this is when I moved my stop loss to break even, so around 6 or 7 points. And my full TP was over here, with taking partials right around in the middle of this area. Okay, so as the market moved up around this high right here, this is where I took partials. I thought it was a good area to take partials as the market has been showing a lot of downwards moves the last couple of days. So I wasn't sure how big the bullish move would be, as the overall direction of the past sessions was very bearish, very aggressively bearish. I still chose a very decent target, very logical target, nothing too crazy, nothing of targeting the moon. So when the price moved in my direction, moved stop loss to break even, took partials in this candle right here as it went right beyond this price level, and then just a couple minutes later, I hit my full TP for 4.70R. Obviously, with taking partial, that's a little bit less, but this would be the trade. Okay, and the same concept would be for any sell opportunity. Okay, we look for these patterns, right? We look for the double bottoms, especially on the M5 or the very clean ones, as you can see. So we look for these patterns, and then we just need to wait and see on the lower time frame, such as the M1, a break of structure to move our stop loss to break even. Stop loss, always give it a little bit of room. Obviously, I could have made it tighter. In this case, it would have worked because I entered obviously in this candle right here. So even a 2-point stop loss would have worked, but I wouldn't trade with those stop losses that are that tight. So I'd rather just give it a little bit of room. Obviously, you don't have to, give it a crazy amount of room because then obviously the pattern wouldn't be valid anymore. So place it at an area where if your stop loss gets hit, the pattern, such as the double bottom in this case, wouldn't be valid anymore. So anything here between 4 and 5 points was more than good. And this is why I chose 4. It was right below this low. And if I would be taken out, well, then I would just see how price reacts. And if it gives other possible entry patterns, such as an M5 double bottom or an M2 double bottom with a retest on the structure, or also on the M1. So this is how I go about choosing targets, choosing stop losses, when to move stop loss to break even, also choosing the partial levels. So keep it simple, don't overcomplicate it. And once you chose certain levels as targets that are not like crazy levels, that are not insane targets, then you should be fine, right? Just try and keep it as simple as possible and prepare before you enter the trade. Okay, I knew already before I entered this trade, as price was moving down, if I were to look for longs, where would my targets be? I marked all my targets already, target areas. I had another one over here. This was another target area. As you can see, we had this M1 low, and then it retested, so this M1 structure. Then I had obviously this level right here where I've hit my full TP. Then I had equal highs here as well on the M1, which is also a good area. So you can see there's just many areas to take targets, and they're all quite valid and they're all good. This is a bit subjective. It depends what you're happy with, and you also really need to look at the market conditions, guys. So the market was very volatile, so I could expect aggressive moves, but overall we were more to the bearish side. So this is why I wouldn't target, in this case today, targets like this. I wouldn't go for these crazy 1 to 10, 1 to 9. Yesterday it would have worked out, but many other days it wouldn't. So that's why I was happy with taking this slice of the move. And as you can see, I was able to catch pretty much half of the move as the market went up quite a bit more, and then it completely consolidated and just stayed very choppy and not really going anywhere, not aggressively down or aggressively up. So I'm very happy to take a slice of this move and close my laptop and be done for the day. Okay, so anyways, guys, keep it simple. Rewatch this video if you need to. If you like this video, leave a like. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next module.